Boys and girls, ladies and gents, welcome back to another episode of Stadium and Gale. It's your favorite Uncle Silk.
It's Dan.
And Delatory.
Nick, how you feeling, baby? You good?
Good. A little
Little
miscommunication on Eastern time and Central time here.
Yeah,
There was a little bit of miscommunication. Nick, how was your whistle pig last night?
Good. Delicious.
Well, 18-year variety?
Yeah, listen, you're on I'm on vacation on a double off day.
Got baseball.
You figure out your haircut
later.
situation?
Oh,
What's
yeah.
that?
You figure out your haircut situation before you head out?
No, haven't. I'm looking at that tropical depression. Have they named it yet?
Brett.
Billy.
Hoping staring at Brett, Billy, whatever it is, hoping it doesn't go north or move slowly.
I think it's going to stay south, Nick.
Love that.
I think God's watching over the Gators. I think he's watching over your wedding, too.
Thank you, God.
Thank you, God. Speaking of thank you, God, big day yesterday in recruiting.
Yes, sir.
So I think we went into the day expecting one, and we talked a little bit about it on the show. We were there for the live commit of Michai Boireau. I think I pronounced that slightly wrong yesterday. That 3-star defensive lineman, huge, 6'5", 350-pound, ranked guy. He's ranked highly by ESPN in 247, a top 100 guy. But there's going to be a little bit of a theme here, Nick, about your employer unranked by On3. But guys, any additional thoughts on Michai Boireau? We stole him fresh off of a visit from Athens.
No, just more of the same. Yesterday, we killing in the trenches, especially on the defensive side. We getting some monsters from some athletic guys. And when he went to Georgia, I kind of was writing that off because the word on the streets is Georgia's getting whatever they want. Just reading some Georgia message board, they surrounded him with a lot of studs that are on campus. They made a real big push for him. Moms and the family were just feeling what Billy Napier and the guys were selling. So they heading down to Gainesville, man. Awesome get. I just like what they're doing in the trenches. Spencer, we talked about the linebacker class being one of the best all time. We're not that far away from the D-line having one of the best D-line hauls of all time as well.
Nick, Spence is doing the entire defensive line now, right? And Peterson or Mike P is doing
Mike P
linebackers.
Yeah, exactly. That was new for this spring is when they started that. So Mike P took the defensive ends and jack linebackers. So Mike P is just inside now, where last year he had everything. But I think this is just hats off to Spence. And despite what a ranking is, I think when we talked about Florida recruiting and getting back where it needs to be, you have to win battles over Georgia, have to win battles over A&M, Alabama. So I think this is one directly, obviously right in their backyard, in Kirby's backyard, and one that Georgia wanted. So these are the kind of battles you have to start winning. And despite our ranking at On3, I think Florida hopped up to number 2 in our rankings for this class.
Oh yeah. We'll get to that here in a second. Right now, Mike P. We'll talk about it here in a second, but right now, Mike P. is the 53rd overall best recruiter in the country, according to 247. Just speaking of his name, but his average ranking on On3 is a 94.6. So a hell of a rating for him. But we talked about go ahead.
I don't know if he was about to leave him, but they got him listed at 6'5", like 380. I don't know if that's a misprint, but if not, he's definitely taking the Desmond Watson role.
Yeah, hopefully can keep it off. He's a great player. I think that he's going to climb those rankings. When your finalists are Georgia, Florida, Penn State, those kind of schools, your ranking, being the 125th player in the country probably seems a little bit low for On3, but there's still a lot of time to evaluate these guys. Not long after we got off the show, maybe an hour and a half after we got off the show yesterday, offensive tackle Marcus Mascoll committed to the Florida Gators. He is ranked anywhere between the 28th best offensive lineman in the country and the 78th best offensive lineman in the country, depending on where you look. He's a 3-star guy, ranked as a 643rd overall player in the country from South Gwinnett in Atlanta, Georgia. Again, Florida went in head-to-head against former Gators offensive line coach Brad Davis and scooped one from the Bayou. What do you guys think of Marcus Mascoll?
Another big guy with a lot of high upside. You like Nick said with the previous guy, you love to be winning battles versus people like LSU. So just another get. We got some guys like Ty Hilton still in the chamber. The overall projection, I like the way a lot of these guys could develop what we're bringing in the offensive line. You still want some star power, but I'm not mad at any of the takes. Even my guy from Germany, I think all these guys are big athletic offensive linemen that Staple and Sale could develop. So I'm not mad at none of these offensive line takes. I just want some more star power in that room, and we got some opportunities to do that.
Yeah, 6'4.5", 290 pounds.
Looks like he has obviously at that weight he's going to get bigger. But he has like a really athletic build. Obviously, offensive line's a position you're projecting, and not a lot of guys ready to come in and start and play right away. He plays left tackle still at his school.
At his school, yes. I don't think he'd be playing that for us.
You think he's an interior guy? I
think so. I think he could play either or, but do you know what the staff's recruiting him as?
No, I don't.
I think he projects as an inside guy. We got some athletic tackles on our board so far with what we taking. I think all of these guys are that can play inside or outside, but I like him for inside. We'll see what's up with it.
Yeah, it does look like Florida's recruiting him at offensive tackle. Doesn't mean that he won't potentially become a guard. Obviously, when you're recruiting high school kids, especially guys that are juniors in high school right now, going into their senior year, there's still a lot of maturation, growth, and development that's going to go in. Some will get it and some won't. That doesn't mean that you can't be a great offensive lineman without being a great offensive tackle. Being able to move over to that guard position, certainly something that's possible. What it does look like Florida's recruiting him at the offensive tackle position.
Good call, Dan.
And then finally, the big get. The Gators late last night got the internet in a tizzy. Just 20 minutes after Miami could celebrate stealing somebody from Tuscaloosa that Alabama was very lightly recruiting. The Gators went in, shoved Lane Kiffin in the locker room, threw on famous Oxford, Mississippi band, the Cooters, onto the playlist, was able to grab 6'1.5", 230-pound linebacker, edge rusher, Jamonta Waller. We talked about him on the show yesterday. A guy that is ranked as a 5-star on ESPN, is ranked as a 5-star on 247 Sports, ranked as a highly ranked number 66th overall player in the country on Rivals. 247 has him ranked as the 5th best linebacker in the country. ESPN is the 3rd best, and Rivals is the 4th best. Nick, gonna need you to throw in an on-3 Billy bump for him. They have him ranked as the 42nd overall player or overall linebacker in the country. But Gators go and grab an elite linebacker right out of Oxford, right out of Mississippi's hands, and Gators blow up on the trail yesterday. That's 9 commits in 7 days. Just truly an incredible feat with what Florida's done.
Let's put a pin in whatever band that was that you brought up and circle back to that.
Their famous song is called The Gooch.
Not taking anything away from the player, but this felt like a direct shot, like back at Lane Kiffin, and like a direct response to the Austin Simmons news. Just first off, this wave, this avalanche of recruits. Like we said yesterday, this staff knows how to handle the news cycle, and the run that Florida has just gone on certainly has moved people on from the Austin Simmons news, and then you end it with a highly touted linebacker right from.
I don't think it's over.
Right from the backyard.
I don't think it's over, but that is a good exclamation point to this class. This might be one of our best runs ever with getting recruits. I know people are bringing up Muschamp had some wild times. Urban Meyer, is probably the best recruiting coach ever at University of Florida, but this is up there, bruh. They on the crazy haul, and I don't think they done. They got some flips. They can flip some rival receivers. This goes to a whole new level, but Jamonta Waller is definitely the best edge rusher we had since Dante Fowler. Explosive get off, crazy athleticism. Might be the anchor of our class when as far as like a top tier talent, as far as overall talent. I think he's gonna be ready to play day one. It's gonna be hard to keep a pass rusher like this off the field, body wise, size wise. He's college ready right now. I think if he was enrolled early, he'd be able to play. He's that type of talent. But great get by the staff and chaos. What's up?
Getting some Harold Perkins vibes.
Definitely Harold Perkins vibes. Love to chase down. Like he'll miss a quarterback and then double back around and still get him for a tackle, for a sack. He's just super explosive. Plays what in our defense would be the jack position or buck, whatever you want to call it.
Jack, edge, buck.
Correct. But as you can see, if you're watching the visuals on YouTube, a super explosive guy, can contain edge, set the edge, a pass rush, all phases of the game. He's very solid. It's a reason he's 5 stars, but awesome get, man. I don't think we've done that defensive end. Y'all keep your eyes open. We got some more decisions coming on the way with Jordan Ross. They feel real good where they at with him. So we'll talk a little bit about that in a little bit. But so far, so good when it pertains to defensive line recruiting.
Yeah, both all three guys that Florida desperately needs help at. Offensive line, obviously, they're looking to always stack the trenches there. But when you look at defensive end, and then when you look at this edge, outside linebacker, Florida needs some help. They need some bodies. They recruited a lot of tweeners, a lot of guys that were kind of these in-between roles. What I think you're seeing the difference between Billy Napier and Dan Mullen and, what we saw previously, even under Jim McElwain, is you saw a lot of guys that were in these in-between roles. Now you're getting guys with size, guys that are ready to play right away. You don't have to worry about them growing in, to their size and into their position over the next few years. You're not wondering, hey, is this a safety or is this a linebacker? Is this a linebacker? Or is there a defensive end? Is this a defensive end or is this a defensive tackle? There's true definitive positions that we see when we're recruiting. So shout out to the staff. Right now, if you look at 247, they have, we talked about this yesterday, Jay Bateman as the number 2 recruiter in the country right now. Shout out to him. Just an incredible job what he's done. But then the newcomer, new defensive coordinator, the new man on the block, one of the guys that a lot of fans didn't know much about when he became the defense coordinator. Austin Armstrong right now is the number 8 overall recruiter in the country. I don't remember the last time that the Florida Gators had 2 coaches that were in the top 10 of recruiting at any point over the last 10 or 12 years. That doesn't include the fact that you have defensive backs coach whose name's escaping me right now, Corey Raymond. He's going to obviously bring in his guys too. A lot of excitement on the recruiting front here.
Yeah, I mean, I believe Corey Raymond has on campus right now Jameer Grimsley and Teddy Foster should be arriving today, so that should heat up. If we can flip receivers from both our rivals in state, then we're really setting the whole state on fire. Are you guys concerned? Is there any concern that most of this class is not from the state of Florida? I like the Georgia footprint. Not mad at that at all. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, it's that 6-hour, circle that you're trying to make your backyard. I don't think, like you said, I think there's obviously, JoJo Trader, the guys that they're still trying to get or flip from the state of Florida, but you want to see them lock down the state of Florida, but you're in a position right now where at Florida you still can, or you're showing that you can recruit nationally. From talking to Billy and even hearing DJ Lagway talk a little bit, I think it hit me that these kids, like juniors in high school, don't remember like Tebow and don't remember Percy Harvin, don't remember Florida being that team. Florida's been super mediocre in their lifetime. So you're not using, those championships. They don't even make that trophy. I think actually they do make that trophy, but they don't really advertise that trophy that the guys are seeing when they show up to Gainesville. So I think especially for people our age who were like in college or just out of college during that time, those memories are still, brand new in our heads, but these guys don't know that. So I think to start getting back to that, you have to be able to not only recruit the state of Florida, but be able to go in and get guys from Georgia, from Louisiana, from Texas.
Yeah, no, Nick, I think you hit the nail on the head. When you talk about that 6-hour radius, I don't know how many outside, obviously DJ Lagway from Texas, there's a few others that are outside of that radius, but for the most part, Georgia's a short drive away.
Mm-hmm.
Mississippi's not that far of a drive away. Louisiana's not too far of a drive. North Carolina, South Carolina. I mean, when you consider going to the depths of Miami-Dade County, you're still a 4.5, 5 hour drive, to Gainesville. So it's really not that far, even if you're going the opposite way. What Florida did last class and what they're doing this class seem to be on two different spectrums. Last year's class was chock full of people from the state of Florida. This one has a little bit more of a national footprint, although it's more of a Southeast footprint itself. I think, a lot of that has to go and deal with relationships and being able to solidify those, and those take time. It takes time building that relationship so that somebody does feel comfortable sending their son to the University of Florida that is that far away, right? I think it was Marcus Mascoll or Jamonta Waller said it, how comfortable he feels with this staff. And I think that that's one of those things that just takes time. And when you have a short sprint, maybe it's a year, maybe it's just a couple months when he first got hired, to be able to build that relationship, it's tough. You have an extended period of time. They feel comfortable. They understand the resources that are available, how they can visit their kid, how they can stay in touch, those kind of things. And I think that you're going to see that blueprint of, yes, you want to make sure that you build a good footprint in Florida, but if you can go and you can get this elite talent outside of the state, you go and try to find the best player. Florida needs to win quickly, so go get those guys that can help you win quickly.
No doubt. I'm interested to see how the wide receiver board works out. I know Jeray Hawkins is the guy that's coming up this side between us and Penn State, I think. Then you still have Chance Robinson, who's probably a flip from Miami. You also have Tawaski Abrams at Florida State, who's a possible flip. We already have one guy committed. You're talking about 4 receivers already. Still some interest. I know we want to grab a guy like Jeremiah Smith. I know we're still into JoJo Trader. And also Terry Bussey is a guy that we have a relationship with out of Texas. I don't know how we are in his pecking order, but it's a guy that we have some interest in that we think we can recruit all the way to the very end. So it's going to be interesting to see how they take and how they manage that wide receiver recruiting after an epic haul last year.
Yeah. I know that who was it, Coach Decker, who said it yesterday. He had a picture of a tank that said "Come home." I heard that Tawaski Abrams' nickname might be Tank, or there was some relationship there. I know that Florida's expecting some movement in that wide receiver room pretty quickly, and Florida, could use the momentum, and who knows, maybe somebody that was on the fence or doesn't have a commitment date announced. Florida was able to get Jamonta Waller to move up his commitment, a month or two. So maybe this excitement and this energy, keeps things
his own
going.
birthday. That's crazy.
Yeah. But Florida right now, number 2 on the On3 rankings, inching closer and closer to Georgia each and every day. I think that they're number 3 right now on 247. I haven't been this excited in a long time.
I'm trying to think how many we take in this cycle? 25? Around that number?
I think you can take more than 25.
You can take as many as you want
limit.
now.
Yeah.
But you got to manage the roster and get at 85.
Right? Yeah, but also, I think you're going to be they're going to be at 85, but while still leaving guys who were former walk-ons on scholarship. They're going to have a lot of room. When I'm looking at the roster right now, you definitely need to add a couple of receivers that you've been talking about. I look at tight end, I'm thinking you could add another tight end in this class, and Florida's roster will be very fluid in the sense that you're probably under the 85 this year, and you're going to be losing some guys to the draft and to graduation. You can get weird and probably get 30.
Yeah, I think that would be
going 30 range, man. I like us for a top 3 class, brother.
That would be aggressive. That'd be great. I think 25 is probably a pretty fair number, right? I don't think that every single player that's committed right now.
Let Nick cook. Let Nick be positive, bro.
I think there's room for 45, 50 still.
There we go, man.
Whatever they want, just take a net and like you're fishing and just drag it across the ocean. Just take everyone with you.
Just give these guys walk-on spots too,
Yeah. Some guys are waiting themselves out. I see, some schedules or some commitment dates being pushed up, not just a Waller. And we definitely wasn't rushing him. He had all the time he could. I don't think nobody was going to pressure him or he's going to lose a spot. But in the trenches, defensive line, Kendall Jackson moved his commitment up after a Kentucky visit. What do you guys think? Are these guys still takes, or where we at with defensive tackle at this point?
You got to think he moved it up after a visit to Kentucky. I think Kendall Jackson's a good player, but I think that Florida's been able to out-recruit him right now. It doesn't mean that he's not necessarily taking the future. And I think you still maintain that relationship. Obviously, he's a Gainesville guy. But, I see Kendall Jackson probably going to Kentucky right now. And then you also have Chris Jones. I know a lot of Gator fans are anxiously waiting his decision, the linebacker, 4-star linebacker out of Virginia. Florida obviously has a number of linebackers already committed. Do you think you take a guy like Chris Jones still, or do you think Florida's full? Or
no, we're so decimated at the linebacker position. You take Chris Jones, and also you got Adarius Hayes seems to be shopping around a little bit, taking the Miami visit. So I don't think you quit recruiting the position. If he's shopping, we shopping. Would like to see him shut it down. A lot of guys shut down their recruitment on the timeline yesterday. I thought that was very dope as well. That a lot of our top recruits won't be taking any more visits, which is a big thing.
Yep. Yeah.
Is it? It seemed like what did we call? We said Miami had those guys doing it last year.
They all had the same exact tweet on the same exact day.
Like it was
right?
a copy paste. Yeah.
After they was about to get poached, like we were trying to flip Kinsler. We were trying to get the Polynesian kid on the visit that kind of snuck out, but Mogwa, whatever it is, Magua, however you say his name. We were trying to get those guys on visits. Other teams were still recruiting those guys, and they had a lot of rumors and smoke was getting on message boards. So they had to orchestrate it. We're all shutting down recruitment, which they did. They did shut their recruitment down. So
stock's only down 30% since then. Josiah Davis, safety Josiah Davis, and Xavier Filisame both announced yesterday that their commitment is shut down. Some other recruiting notes here. Justin Denson, the cornerback out of Rhode Island. Florida wants him to try out before he gets that spot. He's announced the commitment date. Do not expect it to be Florida. I know Oklahoma is a name to look out for there. Obviously, Florida is really looking at Teddy Foster. Silk, you mentioned it before, from Sarasota. He's on campus today, was just on campus a couple days ago. He's looking to make that decision here pretty soon. And then Wardell Mack was also on campus this past weekend. So, again, no shortage of options for the Florida Gators. And, they have their process and they're going to follow that process. And if you don't want to follow and you want to go somewhere else, then, it is what it is. German offensive lineman Noel Portjegen. Again, still need my German folks to help me with the pronunciation. He locked in his official visit, and that's going to be the only official visit that he is going to be taking. So he will be doing that in the next couple of weeks here. Let me see who else we've got. Some things that we're looking at. I think that's kind of it. I know that there's some potential news out there, some potential flips out there over the next couple of weeks, but man, we haven't had to do a recruiting pop-up show in a very long time.
It's been a minute.
Like a true pop-up show.
I think I saw. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think I saw Derek Tyson was talking about there was the Kelvin Taylor, Keanu Neal, and somebody else as the last time there was a run of this caliber of recruit all committing in the same time. I'm trying to see if I can find that last name.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you saw it a lot with Meyer. Recruiting was obviously a lot different then, but you saw them. They had that run also in 2011, where they got Ronald Powell and
easily committed
Easley.
at a bowl game.
Who else did they had? Who was the other defensive tackle that they got? Sharif Floyd. You had some runs like that, but I don't think that there's ever been a time that I can remember where Florida was able to get 9 commitments in 7 days, or even 5 commitments, in just a few days, where it did not seem like the Avalanche was stopping.
And they're not done. And they're not done. Shout out to these boys. I had a take, and I called hell for it when they first got this job. Things I was seeing in remarks I was hearing behind the scenes, I said I think these guys, this staff, can recruit just as good as Urban Meyer's staff. It take a little while, bro. Like, you're not gonna step in the gate. There's a lot of undoing of culture that these guys had to do when they got here, but you're starting to see the fruits of that labor, man. They're starting to land some of these big kids. It seems like they're figuring out the NIL stuff and not running into some of the same kinks that we did last year. And even though we did recruit defense good last year, it went up a notch with Armstrong.
Yeah.
I think his energy is oozing out on some of these visits. My man's dancing and cutting the rug like Dan Thompson on the dance floor. He getting
dancing
busy.
Austin.
So I think the kids, the recruits are feeling it. I think the players on campus is feeling it. Our last defensive coordinator wasn't a high energy guy like that. So we're seeing the fruits of that labor as well. And if we hit with Armstrong, he's so young that we'll get dividends on that for a very long time.
Yeah, no, I think that you can see the talent that's being attracted. And I think that one of the things that you see is there seems to be a connection with the coaches and the team and the process that they're building over there.
Sure.
Right? I mean, it's no secret over the last few years, Florida has been under 500.
Right.
These guys are still committing to Florida, knowing, and I'm sure that Billy Napier and the staff are telling him, hey, this year may not be a banner year for the Gators. Not saying it won't be, but it could be another tough year for them, right? They could wait. They could want to see what the product on the field is, and they're choosing to, commit now. They see the opportunity. They see where they can fit into the big picture, and I think that's so important, And for all the Florida State fans and Miami fans and Georgia fans that are praying for our demise, God's not listening,
No.
God's a Gator fan. We know that.
He's giving us bullets.
And shout out to Sharice Armistead, who's in the chat, Florida or Georgia Bulldog fan, listening to our show. That's how worried Georgia fans are right now about a 6-7 Florida Gators team.
So we ran down on Kirby. They got to come listen, Dan. We ran down on Kirby for his merchandise, man.
Yeah,
of course they
Kirby's still trying to figure out how to push the little thing up inside the locker he's in, trying to get out.
Push the man down that bowl cut.
Dan just – it sounds like Dan's been in a locker, knowing the anatomy of the inside of the locker and how to get himself out.
I'm telling you what, Nick,
we've been in a locker for a few years, man.
Felt like we was getting back in. It's spacious for a short guy like Kirby out there.
They ain't the only merchandise we got that Kirby won. We running down on Kirby a little bit. It ain't gonna be an easy way. This ain't Dan Mullen and the boys. What's his name? Sharice. You got a girl name as well, man.
Sharice Armistead. It might be a female, I believe.
Oh, it might
based on the emojis. Yeah.
Yeah, then that's
we are a show that serves multiple demographics.
Oh, for
UGA
sure.
fans are worried. Shout out to
let me learn her something though. Sharice.
So have Friday Night Lights coming up soon. I don't think that event is going to be the big event that maybe fans are used to. I do know that in a couple weeks they're going to do their big cookout. I know Shannon Snell's doing that again this year, but I think that's the event to look out for more than Friday Night Lights this year. Nick, you're hearing the same thing?
Yeah, I don't know how much longer Friday Night Lights will go on. It hasn't really been like that same. The vibe is not the same that when Urban started it. It was that super exclusive.
Right.
Everyone that they wanted was there. And over the last 2-3 coaches, it's kind of just like 900 people at a camp.
Yeah.
because it just became so popular, and you can't make camps exclusive. Back when when Urban started Friday Night Lights, it wasn't exclusive, but they didn't put it out there, and you would only get a certain type of recruit at that thing. And
I think they about to bring it back. But I think they're getting the band back together. I'm hearing like some former players is pulling up to Friday Night Lights. This is just smoke I'm hearing behind the scenes. I'm trying to pull up myself to get some content done outside of the stadium, do some stuff. But I'm hearing that you're gonna see some legendary former Gators at Friday Night Lights, and that to me, that's an opportunity to bring in some top end talent. It's not your regular official visit weekend, but you could bring in some guys, Zay Mincy, wink wink, guys like that. You bring those guys in that already Gator leans. You have maybe a Carrier Elam in the building. Maybe Ahmad, Joe Hayden. You know what I'm saying? Little Brandon Spikes.
Maybe an Uncle Silk.
I don't know, man. Just keep me out of it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I may pull up. I don't know. You feel me? But I think that's a good idea for the staff. And Friday Night Lights do something like that, we may see some more fireworks. Emmett Smith. I like that guy there. Nathan. I like you, bro.
Bring Emmett Smith back in the fold.
Yeah, bring him in.
What do you guys think? We're going to wrap up the show here in a few minutes. What do you guys think on relationships? You think Florida's got its NIL stuff in order now? It seems to be a little bit more in order. Opportunity to go donate at the Gataverse.io or Florida Victorious. There's a couple different channels that you can participate. But what do you guys think is making things click so well right now?
I think it was some sabotage. I'm just going to keep it a bean. I don't think these guys are not competent or anything like that. I just think it was a lot of self-sabotage, and a lot of self-sabotage don't have to be malicious. You could just be incompetent and not know what the hell you're doing and get sloppy, and then you're stepping on your own toes. So I just think we're not stepping on our own toes. The logo's doing what it do, and Florida is going to be Florida, and these guys are building the relationship they need to do. But I think everything when it pertains to NIL, not perfect, but I think we figured out our mojo a little bit. Shout out to Ben Chase, man. I know he's putting a lot of work in, and it's big effort on that behalf, I would say.
Yeah. Florida Victorious did have a $4 million May. Anthony just posted that in the chat. They raised $2 million. They got a $2 million match. Obviously, that's huge, and obviously that money is there for student athletes at the University of Florida and not recruiting inducements. Always want to make sure that we point that out. But it does seem like NIL's really starting to work really well in the Gators' favor right now. You shouted out Ben Chase. Obviously, Billy Napier and the staff wanted to make it work and figure it out. There's a lot of moving pieces. Maybe it didn't move as quickly as everybody wants, but they say the best time to plant a tree was 30 years ago. The second best time to plant one is today. And it seems like they've got all of their stuff really starting to work in favor. They are the talk of all of college sports right now.
Yes, sir.
They are the talk of every rival fan base right now. If you go to warchant.com on the On3 network, I think if you look at their front page, I think 10 or 12 of the top comments are about the Florida Gators. If you go to Miami's message board, nobody does. But if you did, all of their discussions are about the Florida Gators right now. You go to Sharice Armisted's YouTube watching right now, she's watching about the Florida Gators right now. So, we're the talk of Gator Nation. We do have a super chat. Appreciate you, Chris. How many recruits are we looking at bringing in this year? I saw the timeline someone said low 20s. That seems low. We kind of talked a little bit about it. We're thinking probably mid 20s. There is no limit. Obviously, the limit is the number of players you have on the scholarship, but there's ways to get around that.
I heard 25. If you missed some positive, Nick, if you missed it, but he said 30. So if we getting 30, I'd like us for Sharice will be back. We got 30 because we'll get number one class. We'll be up top 3. So Sharice will be back, giving us some more feedback on what's going on with Georgia.
Yeah, Florida right now has 16 commitments. I think with the way things are trending right now, Florida probably needs they're probably going to get at least 2 more defensive backs in that class. So let's count 2 there. You probably are going to get at least 2 more wide receivers. So you're up to 4. You're probably looking at 1 more running back. So you're at 5, probably looking for some additional help on the offensive line. So let's just say 7. you're looking at probably a +1 at either linebacker, maybe a guy like a Jeremiah Smith, somebody that is a +1. Now you start to look at 8 or 9. That number 22 no longer seems reasonable. Now you start to get to those 24, 25, 26, 27 numbers. Florida has, I think, 3 or 4 walk-ons on scholarship. You are going to lose players to the transfer portal. You are going to lose guys to the draft as well. So I definitely think that 25 is probably a pretty easy number to look at.
And I'm feeling, extra heroic and whatnot, man. Like a bullfighter, you know what I'm saying? Like the vibes is flowing. So I think they should pull up on Florida State, try to flip Cam at running back. I think that should be a thing, or somebody's running back. I don't want to settle at running back. Jaluk, if you're listening,
he is.
I'm pretty sure he is. Go for the gusto, my boy. I know we lost Bowens, but run down on somebody, man. The vibes is big right now. Let's flip something.
Gentlemen, that will bring the end of our show. We appreciate everybody that listened. Please make sure before you leave, you like and you subscribe, you throw a comment, you share it on YouTube, you do all that stuff. We're trying to bring you guys as much content as we can, even if I have to do it from the middle of my office here on a Tuesday morning. But always great to talk Florida Gators with you guys. Nick, what's the plan for Omaha today? You going to go see a red panda?
No, we have to do laundry today.
Okay.
We didn't pack to be out here 2 weeks. We packed for a honeymoon and a wedding.
That's negative, Nick.
He didn't believe.
No. I had to pack for 12 days in Europe and for the wedding weekend. So I just took like what clothes were left over out to Omaha. Not that I didn't believe, but didn't want to bring 12 days of clothes to Omaha. So we're doing laundry at the hotel today. That's what's on tap.
I'll enjoy it. Silk, Nick, great seeing you guys again. Sharice, appreciate you listening the entire time. Go Gators, as always. And we'll see you guys.
Fireworks. More
same
fire.
corner, same time, different week. See you guys next week.